Hi, I'm Stamper.
And I'm Kim.
We're here standing in front of our 300-year-old barn in Dutchess County, New York.
Today we're going to take you inside our barn to meet some of our livestock and learn about what we do here on the farm every day. Come on in.
Let's go. So here is where we keep all of our animals, and I would love to introduce you to one of my best friends, Snowflake. So this is Snowflake. She's one of our Dorset sheep. Dorset sheep come from a very cold region, and you can usually tell by where the wool is on their heads. Snowflake's wool comes down on her forehead, which makes sense because heat is released through the top of the head. So she basically has a built-in beanie. All of our sheep recently had their haircuts or their shearing, and so we have all of our raw wool here. And this is a mixture of our Dorset breed and our Tunis breed that I'll introduce you to in a little bit. And we take this and we card it to get out some of the nasty bits. We clean it, and then we can use it for making yarn, which we can then use to make clothing, or we can felt it. Snowflake was born 3 years ago at this point, on a very cold day in February. And she was kind of a miracle baby. So Snowflake is very friendly, which most of our sheep can tend to be, but it isn't necessarily in their nature to be overly friendly as they are prey animals. So even though she's very friendly with humans, that might not necessarily help her out in the wild. So after Snowflake was born, she did need a lot of hands-on attention. Unfortunately, she has one bad leg because of an infection that she had right at birth. So that lends itself to why she is such a friendly sheep with humans, because she understands that we were taking care of her and it helped her feel much better. Snowflake does have a little bit of a limp because of that, but she gets around just fine, and we call her our Miss Congeniality. And if we take a closer look at Snowflake's eyes, since we have her in here, Snowflake, can I show? Can I show? Her pupil is dilated now, but sheep have a long rectangular pupil, and their eyes are set on the side. And when we go in to look at our other sheep, I'll tell you why. Okay, so here's the rest of our flock or herd. Snowflake came back in with us, and as you can see, Snowflake looks very different from a lot of our other sheep. So for example, we have we have Cinnamon here, and Cinnamon is a great example of a mixture of the Dorset and the Tunis breed, which is what we primarily have. So Cinnamon has the brown cinnamony color to her face, but she has the wool on her forehead just like our other Dorsets. Snowball, who is Snowflake's mama, and of course Snowflake herself. Here we have Miss Butterscotch, I believe, or Caramel. This is Caramel, actually. Caramel is a purebred Tunis. Now, Tunis sheep come from a very hot desert region in Africa called Tunisia. And opposite of the Dorset and their built-in knit caps, basically, the Tunis breed do not have wool that comes down on their forehead. And that's to ensure that they can release heat from the tops of their head during the hot days in the desert, but they still have their full coats because it gets very cold at night in the desert, because sand doesn't retain heat like how our soil does. The difficult and tricky part with Tunis is that they're very used to being on abrasive sand, so we have dealt a lot with a hoof issue called hoof rot. It's like an extreme version of athlete's foot. So we do have to take care of our sheep's hooves on a regular basis, usually every 6 to 8 weeks. We give them a trim. And we'll bring them into the other room where I had Snowflake, and we'll put them on the stand to trim their hooves, and then we soak their feet in a medicine bath. Over here I have kind of like a sandbox that's filled with lime, and that helps to kill off the bacteria. And we usually bring in item 4, which is a granule stone acting as an emery board for them. Because it is, especially during this time of the year when things start to warm up, it becomes a prevalent issue. So at the moment, they are kind of hurting for a little bit of their spa day action, so they will be receiving their pedicures soon. Over here, you'll see that we have hay for them. We actually just switched out this hay feeder according to what the vet told us to do. We want to make sure that all their food is off of the ground because they might step in it, it might add bacteria to their guts, it might affect their immune system. So we're doing our best to ensure that our animals are happy and healthy. And I'm not sure if you've noticed, but we do have quite a few lambs. We had a very successful lamb season. We had 8 lambs that were born. So some are purebred Tunis and some are a mixture of Tunis and Dorset. So here is Bushel, and Bushel has those very characteristic white features of the Dorset. But I'm interested to see if the wool will grow in on his forehead or not, because he is half and half. Over here, we have Winter, who is another perfect example of the mixture of Dorset and Tunis. But then we have Turbo over here, who is a purebred Tunis sheep. He does have that beautiful red coloring, the dark red on his legs and on his face, but we were very surprised to find the white spot on his head. Although some of our purebred Tunis do have that, and it doesn't detract from how cute they are, right, Peachy Keen? So Peachy Keen was a lamb that we had last season who will be of age this time around, well, next lambing season, to have a baby of her own. Some of our sheep are aged out, and we've set up kind of a quarantine area so that when we have our ram in here, the ladies that we want to be bred are bred, and the ladies that we don't want to be bred are not. Right, Winter? Winter is a sweetie pie. So Winter is a ram, which means he's a boy sheep. Snowflake is a ewe, which is the name we use for our female sheep. So he's a ram lamb. And here comes little Petey off to the side. Little Petey was actually the last one that was born, and boy was that interesting. When he was in the process of being born, his head was sticking out, but his hooves were not beneath, because what you want is a lamb to essentially dive out. We waited a little bit, but then we saw that Snickers was struggling. She was growing tired, and little Petey was breathing but unable to work his way out. So we had to reach in, reconfigure or re-angle his hooves, because essentially his hooves were tucked underneath him and his elbows were hitting against the pelvic wall. So we had to rework that and pull him out, and it was the longest 5 minutes of my life. But he came out, he was the last of the season, and he's perfectly happy and healthy, and Snickers is very happy to be done with that as well. She was massive towards the end of her pregnancy, and we were very worried about her. We have discovered in the past that diet has so much to do with how easily a birthing happens. So we monitored their diet. We actually this year for the first time had an overnight camera set up so we could watch throughout the night instead of setting up intervals where we came in physically, which was really great, but sometimes even more nerve-wracking because we were constantly checking the feed. And especially for Miss Snickers, she was breathing very heavily sometimes, but that just had to do with the longevity of the pregnancy, and obviously it's very uncomfortable. And labor is laborious, so we were more than willing to assist, although her firstborn Bushel came out with no problem, but because of the size of Snickers, we knew that she would have 2, and typically sheep will have twins. We did have some of our purebred Tunis only had 1, so actually all of them only had 1 each. We have Sugar Mama in the corner, who was our first, and she had a ram. And then we had Caramel and Butterscotch, who each had 1, And then finally, Miss Maple, who we were very worried about and we're monitoring, had one as well, who is also a ram, who we will be utilizing as our breeder down the line. Not this year, of course. We have a ram, Walker, who is very sweet, great temperament, who did a great job for us this past year, who we have up at another facility that will be coming back next year for our lambing season. The sheep are not always inside the barn. Most of the time they're out grazing. I brought them in today because it's a very special day. I wanted to introduce them to you guys. So usually they're out in our pasture. We recently just opened up our larger pasture, which we might get to go see later. We set up a rotational grazing system to allow our grass to come to seed again. And usually they can be found at the far end of the pasture, although it doesn't take much to get them down, just a couple of shakes of a feed bucket and they come running because they love their Shepherd 16 first thing in the morning. Although on these hotter days, they do like to stay inside in the shade. Sheep love Irish weather. They love when it's drizzly, kind of foggy, definitely a little bit of a cooler day. Otherwise, you can find them here in the barn. I did give them hay today, but now that the grass is growing, we usually don't, so they get their nutrients or excess nutrients from their Shepherd 16. Obviously, we give them fresh water every day, but typically they're grazing throughout the day and then ruminating, grazing, ruminating, grazing. So sheep are ruminant animals, which means they have 4 stomachs. And the action of ruminating is when they chew, swallow, and then if the food doesn't fit into the second chamber, it comes back up. So you'll often see, we have one right here, chewing her cud. This is Miss Flitwick. So she's in the process of ruminating. So she's gonna chew, 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 swallow, oop, perfect timing. And if it doesn't fit into the next chamber, it'll come right back up and she'll continue chewing that until it does. And what this helps with is breaking down nutrients so that the body can utilize. And that actually helps us with our manure and our compost, because if they break it down for us and they utilize all the nutrients they need for their bodies and then give us nothing but pure black gold, then we can use that in our gardens. And they're not the only animals on our farm that have 4 stomachs. Our cows do too. So let's go see the cows. Now we only have 6 cows, but we have different types of breeds. I'll actually go inside and introduce you. So over here we have Miss Violet. Hi, Violet. Now Violet is a Hereford cow, which you can tell from her white face and her orange body. Hereford cows, while they do produce milk after they have babies, calves, Hereford cows are raised primarily for their meat. So they do get to be very large. I would wager that Miss Violet is 1,200 pounds or so at this point in time, but I'm not making fun of you at all, sweetie pie. So she is very sweet. Her temperament is very nice. She is another cow that has been around people quite a lot, so she's very used to being pet and touched. Although I do always tell anyone that comes into the barn to be very wary, because sometimes they forget how large they are. And their heads, if you were to touch a certain part, they might swing their head and it could knock someone over. So on the cheek, under the chin, and the ears are some of their love spots. I'll show you one of our other Herefords, but first I'm going to introduce you to Miss Juniper. Yes, Miss Juniper. She is a milking Devon, and she's called such because milking Devons produce quite a lot of milk. So not just enough for their calves, but excess. So let's say that her baby needs 7 gallons of milk a day. She would produce double that. So let's say 14 gallons a day. Here is our diva, Miss Lulu. Lulu is actually a mixed breed. So Violet and Juniper are purebreds, but Lulu is 1 part Angus, which is why she has that beautiful dark coat, and 1 part Highland. If we were able to get a closer look to her face, she has a longer sort of bang on her head and that is from her Highland descent. Highlands usually have very long hair that typically covers their eyes, but she doesn't need a haircut because the Angus keeps it right on the level. So Lulu actually came to us from a monastery right outside of Beacon. And the reason that she came to us is because they could not keep her. They couldn't keep her enclosed. She is our great escape artist, our Houdini. And we were like, yeah, sure, we can bring you here. We have lots of land. She won't want for anything. And one day, she was on 9D, which is the major road that runs along our farm. She decided she wanted nice green grass that was just over the fence line, and she stopped commuter traffic at 9 a.m. So that was really interesting, but that was the push to get us nice new fencing all along our pasture. So thank you, Lulu, for that. Over here is another milking Devon. This is Little Red. Now, Little Red is a little skittish, and we're hoping that over time she'll become more comfortable. She is still considered a calf. We call them calves until they're about a year old. She's obviously much smaller. Calves will gain about 100 pounds per month until they're full grown. So if we look at Little Red and then we look at Miss Juniper, you'll see she's got a little bit of growing to do. You can see too that Miss Juniper is ruminating, just like how we learned with our sheep. She's in the process of breaking down that material. I did give them all hay. Again, they usually have their grass while they're grazing. But since I have them indoors, we gave them some hay this morning to ensure that she got lots of nutrients. Okay. Behind her, we have Miss Jasmine. And Miss Jasmine is fully grown, but she's on the smaller side. And I'm honestly not too sure why, but she is pregnant. So we're hoping that in the next few months we'll have another little baby calf. We're not sure of the sex of that calf. Hopefully it's a female. But Miss Jasmine again is a milking Devon. Last but not least, we have our other Hereford. And this is Arthur, which means Arthur is a bull, and he's our only bull. Some people assume that our milking Devons are bulls simply because of their horns, but Arthur is what we call a polled breed, meaning he could potentially grow horns, but he's been genetically, well, not genetically, through breeding, his horns have not grown in. Because you will see often that female and male Herefords can grow horns, but that can be difficult for farmers to deal with, especially a bull. Although we no longer really call him a bull, he's called a steer because he's been castrated. And that's for population control and for temperament, because we don't want him to be too angry or too aggressive. Bulls can be very territorial, and in fact, some of our females are a lot more aggressive and territorial than this sweet boy here. So every morning when I come in, I start my chores, and that includes getting our animals some of their dry feed. Like I discussed, a lot of our animals, well, the cows and the sheep, are grazing, but they do still need some extra nutrients in the form of dried pellets. So the sheep will usually get about 4 big scoops of this, and that just gives them extra nutrients that they wouldn't typically get from their herbivore diet. The cows, we only really give them grain marginally because of how they metabolize certain sugars can add to or can lead to quick weight gain, which we don't want for our cows because that causes difficulty in movement, especially with our Herefords and Angus. Because they are meant for meat, they gain weight very quickly. We had a really fun group here for about 8 weeks, junior farmer. I had 9 kids that came and they helped me with my chores, and that had everything to do with giving fresh water, giving feed. We started this wonderful program for our chickens and our turkeys where we were growing fodder from barley seeds, and so the kids helped with that. We would set trays up, and then when they were fully grown, we would bring them in and disperse them to certain animals. In fact, our pigs loved our barley. The cows and the sheep, not so much. They're very picky, and they wanted to be out in the pastures with that fresh grown grass. But I will give them hay in the winter time, usually 4 bales for the cows, 1 bale for the sheep to share, and that's what would help them stay nice and warm in the winter time. That constant ruminating, the chewing, and the coming back up, it helps increase their body temperature. So maybe we should go visit with the pigs. Hi guys. So we have a brother and a sister. The sister we named Stevie after Stevie Nicks. There she is. And behind her is her brother Bowie. Yes, Bowie, we're talking to you. Yes. As you can tell, they're very calm at the moment, but when I come in first thing, they are hangry and they are wailing and they demand to be fed. Right, Stevie? Oh yeah, she's going to demonstrate right now. So every month I add a scoop of feed because as they grow, they do need more food. So they also get the dry pellets. But whenever we have extra food lying around, we give it to them. It doesn't hurt. They are omnivores, like how humans are omnivores, so they eat pretty much everything. Although I do try to avoid certain feed or certain foods because we don't want their stall to stink too much, so no onions go in there. But they have their indoor area here, which they keep fairly clean. Pigs are very smart animals. They find one place that they go to the bathroom, and that's where they always go to the bathroom, and that's usually away from where their food and water is. So when we first got these piglets, we had it closed. It was colder outside, so we wanted to keep them in a nice warm area, so they were going to the bathroom inside, but as soon as we opened it up outside, they started going to the bathroom outside, which I very much appreciate. Thank you, Bowie. Thank you, Stevie. I recently just started giving them a larger bowl of water. They're drinking a lot more. So I keep water on the inside. I also give them a big vat of water on the outside. If they want more to drink, but mostly so they can cool themselves down. So most people associate pigs with rolling around in the mud, but not for the reasons you might think. They do it because, just like how we do, we get sunburnt. So unfortunately, Miss Stevie is flaky because she fell asleep in the sun. And she got a really bad sunburn. So normally they roll around in the mud as a form of sunscreen and also as a means of cooling themselves down. Pigs don't have sweat glands, which as we know is a way for our body to protect our organs from overheating. And the mud helps them stay nice and cool. Their large ears have everything to do with heat as well. It helps them release heat from their bodies. If you think about a fox here in North America, but then you think about a fennec fox that might be found in a warmer region, you see the difference in their ear sizes. And that's because the fox in the warmer area needs to release more heat from their bodies. So the larger ears has less to do with hearing and more to do with the release of heat. So our piggies are going to stay here until they're about 300 pounds or so. We only keep them for about 6 months because we really just don't have the space to house them. And a 300 to 600 pound pig, regardless of how well trained they are, can be very difficult to move around. They are very nice and friendly, but even I can sometimes get knocked around a little bit by our pigs. So these guys at this point are about 4 months old. Right, Bowie? And pigs actually have 50 different vocal sounds that they use to communicate not just with each other but with humans. The sounds that they make first thing in the morning are very different from the sounds that they make when they are nice and calm and satisfied with their meal. Sometimes they can bark like how a dog might bark. So it's very interesting. I've really enjoyed learning about pigs, being around pigs. It's been really great to get them here on the farm when they're so small and get them used to being around people. I don't let kids in here just because, again, pigs can get very rowdy. But when I go in, they love scratches, they love cuddles, they love biting my shoes. So I've been trying to teach them not to bite. And you can do so by kind of just grabbing their snout and saying, no biting. And they've been kind of understanding. But I do think that they're teething at the moment, which is why I think that they have such an oral fixation right now. But Stevie and Bowie, for the most part, are very content. So that's our pigs. Next up, we're going to introduce you to our chickens and our turkeys, led by Kim.
Let's go learn about our chickens. So these are our chickens. This is our coop here. We have a coop that has a few different compartments and places for our chickens to go if we need to isolate, if we have an injured chicken, or even when it's time for breeding. So right in front of us, and this is great that you're seeing this, right in front of us we have our Java chickens, and right now they are separated from the rest of our chickens. And Jack wants you to know that he is there. So that's Jack. He is our Java rooster. And then you'll see the other ladies next to him, and everyone is dust bathing. And that's a really important thing to notice because chickens are actually really good at taking care of parasites on their own. And they dust bathe to take care of those parasites and to keep their bodies mite-free and lice-free. So there's really not a lot we have to do if we provide them with the dirt and the space to do their dust bathing. Over here, we have some other breeds of chickens. We have quite a few breeds here on the farm. And most of the breeds that we have are heritage breeds. And heritage breeds are breeds that have a long history, not only in the United States, but in other countries. The rooster that you see there on the branch, he is a Dominique chicken, which is actually the oldest breed of chicken developed in the United States. They're great for the farmer because they are considered a dual purpose chicken, which means they're great at laying eggs, and they also are great if you need meat for your table. And right next to that big rooster is another smaller rooster, and that rooster is a Seabright. His name is Lewis, and the Seabrights are really cool. They were developed in England, and they were a breeding project, but they've been around for a very, very long time. And they are actually considered threatened by the Livestock Conservancy. So these heritage breeds that we have here, we're trying to kind of bring them back into popularity because the breeds have gone by the wayside in favor of other mixed breeds, and we're trying to kind of develop and save those very, very important breeds. So we've got the Seabrights, the Dominiques, and I'll take you in to visit some of our other breeds of chickens inside. So if you follow me in here, you'll meet some of our other chickens. And these guys, with the funny crests on their heads, are caretakers. And these are probably the most critically endangered ones we have. They are considered critical on the Livestock Conservancy's watch list. These are actually from France, and they're a very cool bird. Instead of the regular comb that you see on most chickens, the single comb, these birds actually have a V comb, and it's very hard to see under their crests. They're very docile. We found them to be very, very nice and friendly chickens, and so most of our 4-H'ers work with these chickens. They are easy to handle, they're easy to hold, and hopefully one of them will let me pick them up to show you. So this is the proper way to hold a chicken. You put 2 fingers between their legs and pinch the outside of the legs with your outer 2 fingers with a hand over their wings. And this crevacore, I think this is Popcorn, and she is one of our 4-H'ers chickens, and we host 4-H here at the farm, and we have 4-H'ers that come in and they work and they help us take care of the chickens. So their jobs might be, as Stamper was showing you earlier, to get the feed, bring the feed in to the chickens, and then to also fill the water, clean out nesting boxes, clean out and muck out the stalls. Sometimes the 4-H'ers come in and do public service things like cleaning out the entire coop for cobwebs and things like that. So I'm going to put Popcorn down. We do get eggs from our chickens here. We get a lot of different kinds of eggs in different colors, not as many as some other places. The crevacores lay a white egg, the Dominiques lay a tan egg, and the Javas lay a little slightly darker tan egg. And then the Seabrights lay a tiny white egg, but right now we only have 2 male Seabrights. Our female Seabrights are coming in June, so we will have a flock of smaller Seabrights very soon. But if we look under here, we have a broody hen, and this hen is actually a Rhode Island Red, not one of our heritage breeds that we have in our main flock, but we're going to let her live out her life here and enjoy herself. And she is broody. She wants to lay an egg and hatch an egg, but she doesn't have one down there right now. Let's look over here. Oh, we've got quite a few here. So these eggs are crevecoeur eggs, pardon me. So I know that because of their color, and those are the only chickens that we have that lay this size of white egg. And most likely this is one of my Dominique eggs. And sometimes we even hatch these eggs here at the farm. So hopefully I'll get to show you a little later some of our chicks that we have in the classroom. We collect the eggs, we store them, fat side up so the air cell is up, and then we keep them temperature regulated until it's time to put them in the incubator, and then they go into the incubator at 99.5 degrees, and they incubate for 21 days, and after those 21 days, we get chicks that hatch out, and it's a pretty cool experience to watch it all happen. We also have turkeys. They are the newest addition to our farm, and we have 2 different breeds of turkeys inside our turkey den. So some people find the turkeys intimidating because they are quite large and they do like to get into your face. But I really like them. And I think they're just friendly and they don't know what to do with all of their big bodies. So let's go outside and meet our turkeys. These are our toms. Right now we have our toms, which are our male turkeys, separated from our females, our hens. The jennies are over there, the toms are over here. Reason being is that our jennies have laid eggs and they are going to be hatching out baby turkeys or poults very, very soon. And the toms can be a little aggressive and they're just so big and the poults are so small that we want to make sure when those poults come out that they are protected and they're safe, because we don't want the toms to accidentally step on them, which can happen. So we have 2 different breeds here. This is Baldwin. He is our Narragansett turkey, and he is also a heritage breed. And then this is Moo, and Moo is a bourbon red turkey, and this is Copper, and Copper is a bourbon red as well. Copper is Moo's father. And if you notice, turkeys have some really cool features. In addition to the beak, just like the chickens, the turkeys have this flap of skin over their bill, their beak, and it's called a snood. I love that word, snood. But it's not the only cool thing they have going on. All of those little red and blue bumps on their head, those are called caruncles. And they will get redder and change color depending on the mood of the turkey. And then if you look right in the center of the turkey's chest, I don't know if Moo's going to let me show you. If you look right in the center of the turkey's chest, you'll see Moo's is a little smaller. This is a beard, and male turkeys will grow a beard. And it just kind of shoots out right there in the front in their chest, and the older they get, the larger that beard gets. And the really cool thing about heritage turkeys is that they are very, very close to being like wild turkeys. They can fly, which is why you see this netting above you, because these turkeys are perfectly capable of flying up into the trees at night, and we want to make sure that our turkeys are safe. So at night, we lock them in so that no raccoons or any other critters can get to them, but during the day, we just need them to keep them from flying away because they can easily roost in the trees. So we do, as I mentioned, have some hens in the other side of this turkey den that are really ready to hatch some eggs. We have one very broody hen, and let's go check her out now. Do you hear that hissing sound? That is Grace, who is our Narragansett hen, telling me to back off. She has about 14 eggs, the last I checked before she started getting broody, that she is sitting on. And she's been sitting on them at this point for about 7 to 8 days. So turkeys, unlike chickens, take 28 days for their eggs to hatch once they start incubating. So a little bit longer for a turkey egg to hatch out, but she is working very, very hard. I have not been in here any time in the last week that she has not been sitting on that nest. So typically, and I'm not as familiar with how turkeys do it, but I'm assuming it's probably pretty much the same as chickens. A chicken will, when they are broody, come out in the morning, drink, eat, go to the bathroom, and go right back in and sit on that nest the rest of the day. So my guess is that that's why I haven't seen Grace, is that she's probably coming out first thing in the morning, drinking, eating, going to the bathroom, and then going right back in to sit on those eggs. She really wants them to hatch out. And if you look behind you, we have Cow. Kind of funny. She was actually raised by one of our 4-H'ers, and she named her Cow. And she is our bourbon red hen. And she is also laying eggs right now, but we haven't gotten her to successfully go broody yet. So let's go see if she has any eggs in the nest. No eggs so far. She keeps laying them, and we keep hoping that she will start to go broody, but so far she has been eating them. So we're actually going to be trying a new thing with her, thinking that maybe she might need some more minerals in her diet. So we've got some oyster shell to give her to try to boost her calcium levels, and also a mineral block to hopefully help her feel comfortable to lay the eggs and set on them rather than try to eat them herself. Cow is super friendly. She really likes sparkly things. So anytime you have a ring out, she usually likes to go for your ring. And you'll notice that she also has a snood, but it's much smaller than the males. And then she has a little dewlap here. The males have a dewlap as well. That's called a dewlap. They're very vocal, they're very friendly, and they love people. They really, really like to be around their people. So why don't we go check out our chicks? We have, as I said, some chicks that we recently hatched out in an incubator in our classroom. We hatched out some Java chicks, we hatched out some Dominique chicks, 2 of our heritage breeds, and then we also ordered and got in a couple Crevecoeur chicks because we needed a male so we can start our flock in there as well. Come on, let's go visit the chicks. Hi. So these 2 brooders contain the Dominique and the Java chicks that we hatched out this year from our flock. Now the cool thing about Dominique chicks, which I really love, and this one's going to give me a hard time because this is my rooster. Most chicks, when they hatch out of the egg, you cannot tell if they're male or female. But Dominiques are called, or they're considered an auto-sexing breed, which means when they hatch out of the egg, they look different enough that you can tell the males and the females apart. So this is actually a female. Now these guys aren't freshly hatched. They've been hatched for, they're probably around a little over a month old, I believe, at this point. But the female, you'll notice that her feathers are darker. You'll notice that the male is lighter. Ooh. Oh, she's being feisty. She's being real feisty. But the big giveaway is their legs. So if you'll look at their legs, you'll notice that the male's legs are very, very light colored, mostly yellow. And I'm going to put him down so that you can see the female. And the female's legs have a lot of dark on them. So that's one way to tell them apart right when they hatch out. And then another way is, these guys have already lost this, but the females when they hatch out will have a very, very concise yellow dot on the top of their head. And the male's dots will be kind of all around and will be larger and kind of splotchy, where the females will be very solid yellow dot. So it's really cool because you can tell the males and the females apart when they hatch out. The Javas, on the other hand, you cannot tell when they hatch out unless you're an expert in what's called vent sexing, which I am not. People do a lot of training to get good at vent sexing. This is one of our Java chicks, and unfortunately, I don't know if she's a male or a female. I say she because I really hope she's a female, because this is an auburn Java, and this coloration was thought to have been extinct. But recently it was found in a recessive gene, so we are part of a project to try to bring this beautiful auburn color back. And so she is one of only 2 auburns that hatched out for us, so I really hope she's a female so that we can continue building our auburn Java flock. In addition to the auburn Javas, we also hatched, come here baby, we also hatched quite a few black Javas. And most Javas are either black or they're mottled. There are also white Javas that were also extinct and being brought back, but we don't have any of those here. But we did donate some eggs to a local classroom, and that classroom hatched out a couple Dominiques and a couple Javas, and they hatched out our only white Java this year. So it was really cool to see the kids get to experience that at the local classroom.
Now that we're done with our tour, we're gonna let the animals out. Time for them to go grazing up in the pasture. All right, watch out, Winter. All right, let's see. Come on out, Butterscotch. There they go. So it looks like they might head right up to the pasture, though some are very curious about the cow pen. Thank you so much for stopping by Stony Kill. Hope you learned a lot today.
And I really hope you'll get to come join us in person soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.